Okay, I have enough parts that I can start the work on this Ammoon Tele. And the first thing I did was I ordered locking tuners as opposed to the sealed kind of tuners, die-cast sealed ones. They come in at around the same price. I found an 18-to-1 that works very well. And I like these because you can take the pin out, right? And you can see the gear as it turns in the back, and you can see if there's a gap between the gear and the worm gear where they don't actually turn. So you can check them out that way. Now the other thing I'm doing is that I'm infusing them with some silicone down into the gears. Silicone synthetic grease. Because what they come with is a dab that was just kind of dabbed on top and it's not really between the gears. And then I spin it. And now I also notice something else. If you spin it clockwise, the worm gear is turning this way, which wants to bring the grease out. Spin it counterclockwise, the worm gear turns this way, wants to pull the grease down into the gear. So that's what I'm doing. So I've prepared the other 5. This one is especially tight. And usually after a few turns it starts to spin a little bit better to spread out that grease around the entire gear and the worm gear. There's 2 gears, a worm gear, which is the one that they have on the shaft, and then there's the cog gear. Alright, sometimes I'll just press that down in there to make sure it's in. Put the pin back on. And we don't need it all the way up. Let's make sure it goes all the way up. It does. Okay, good. Alright, so those are prepared. Now I need to clean up my grease and put that back in the tube. I keep this little syringe that came with the refilling ink cartridges right in my little case here for the grease, because I know I'm going to need it for multiple things. I also have the needle in case I have to get like inside the vintage style Clues-on tuners. Alright, so after you've finished working with grease, wash your hands before you touch a lot of other stuff. My neck has been sheened on the headstock. It's usually matte, but I like to have a little bit of a sheen on it. So what I did was I put furniture polish, spray furniture polish, like the lemon pledge type, and I just wiped it until it became shiny but still a little bit wet, and then left it, because the first time I rubbed it completely dry it went back to matte. I noticed that if I left it wet I got the sheen I wanted, and it stays when it dries. So I've mounted 2 of the pegs because I'm putting a new bridge on here for humbuckers that I need to be able to decide where the actual position is with this neck as compared to the other bridge, which is a little bit smaller in dimensions to this one. Also, I'm going with a traditional pick guard which overlaps the bottom of this, at the bottom for this bridge. I've pre-marked some holes or hole positions where I think it should go, making the base of the heel here flush with the body. And I'm going to have to end up doing trimming here for the neck pocket, and of course down here around the bridge, and also over here. It's not going to fit properly, I don't think, completely around the end of the cavity plate. So I'm probably going to have to just cut that off at this angle and put a different drill hole down here. And I was going to go with pearl white, which is on order and coming from China. The bridge came very quickly in 2 weeks, which I wasn't expecting, so I went on Amazon and I had the choice of white or the pearl gray, and I thought, well, I'm going to try the pearl gray. The white is still coming, but I think the pearl gray looks pretty nice on this, and that's what I think I'm going to go with for now. I need to mount my neck. I'm going to put it where it was initially, and I'm going to string with this construction, laying out, you know, your lines for building stuff with this cotton thread on the high and low E's to make sure that the positioning of this bridge, which is a little bit spinny, right, I've only got the center screw in there. I'm hoping the center screw hole lines up properly with the width of the 52.5 millimeter bridge, so that the other two screw holes will only need to be re-drilled because the bridge is wider. Alright, so let me do some work there, because I have to spin all this over and put these things in the back, and we'll see how it goes. Stand by. Alright, I've got my yellow cords on. I'm just holding this one by hand taut so that you know, we don't put undue work on myself. So I position the bridge so that this string basically goes up to where I think it's going to go properly, all the way up the fretboard like that, with the neck mounted exactly where it was before without making any changes to what came in. There's a tiny bit of play in the side of this pocket here, so the neck does have an option to be able to be spun a tiny bit, and I think that's going to be it. So I've marked the holes for my bridge, and I think what I'm also going to do, because I think I can get this stuff off afterwards, well, I'm going to put it on the inside there. There's a line where the inside of that bridge has to, the meat has to come out, right? And that's going to give me an idea where to put my drill template to line that up. Over here, the square will be made by this one on the pick guard, and we'll do the same thing there. And I'll do that with the strings off. I recommend not using this kind of cord. It comes apart really easy, and it's hard to get through the tuning pegs. I would go back to using like a fishing line, a monofilament, really easier to work with than this was. Alright, I've taken the bridge off because I wanted to fit this, and I know I want to make this flush here. And I thought I had it flush. Now it looks flush. And the holes that I marked are in a different place than when I tried it without it. So here's the issue. Not wide enough for the heel. These heels are not standard like fenders. They're a little bit wider, and therefore, since I want to keep this side pristine to fit there, I am going to open up the longer side with my belt sander and see what I can do with it. So first thing I'm going to do is to mark how much meat I want to take off in the first pass with just a piece of masking tape. Try to line that up nice and straight. It's like 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 and 1/4 inches. Now a regular fender is 2 3/16. Oh, this is 16ths. Okay. Yeah, this is 1/16 wider than a fender, and that's about a 16th that I have there. Yep, that's about a 16th that I have right up until the tape. So, pardon me, I must escape to the other side of the basement and go and do a little bit of belt sanding on that, and then try to make this curve here stay in place. Alright, I got it opened. I did the best I could on the curve. It's going to be hidden anyway, and it now goes around the heel, nice and tight and snug on both sides, and I think that's going to work just fine. Now, I have to remount the neck again to position that properly. So I did that with the belt sander along the flat edge. Then I just took my diamond files around the flat with the round, convex on the back, and the round one to just shape it the way I wanted it. Alright, to do this part I only really needed to put 2 diagonal screws in the neck just to hold it in place. So I could measure where this is going to go. And what I think I'm going to do is tape it down in a couple of places, try to stop it from moving while I'm marking. Right where that should be. Right where that should be. We don't want to cover that hole because it looks like I marked it in the wrong place to begin with. So, alright. The control cavity plate's at the other bench, but I'm pretty sure it's going to have a problem here. I'll go get it once I take care of this. So this amount of meat has to come out on that side, and I'm gonna re-blacken my holes. I'll probably do a couple and then use this template in place with the 2 opposing to do the rest of them. Now that part's probably going to have to come off. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is an 8 hole. I'm going to fully blacken it. I'm not going to do this corner because I think I'm going to have to nip it right there just to get that around there. And along here, the bridge. Yes, the bridge now, which is here. With this hole over the center where it does work properly, and lining up those holes. Yes, I need to come all the way around here. Significant amount of meat off of this compared to just here. I'll probably go up or down, I should say, a number, maybe 320, to do this cutout. And that cutout needs to be marked. There. Alright. Yeah, see, that's a significant amount of meat coming off there. And to me, this line doesn't seem straight. which is worrisome. And that's probably because of the way I had to take this meat off. It's sitting a little bit too far this way because I wanted to maintain that corner over there. But in the end, when it's all built in and it's all up snug, it's going to look fine, I say. Okay, more work at the other end of the basement. Stand by for that. All right, I got the meat off with the 320. Wow, it went really fast. Just to get this whole piece out here going nice and slow, about 2 minutes to take that out. And then another minute and a half or so to take out the remaining pieces here. I made a tiny little flubber there. I'm not sure how that happened, but when I take the tape off, you'll see a tiny little gouge there. Well, let's see how it fits. It was fitting better before, and this is probably because of the positioning of this. Oh, there's a little nib there that I didn't get off completely. That's the problem. But yeah, that's going to fit in there pretty good on both sides. All right, be careful of that. I forgot about that little nib. Oh, tiny little nib there that I just didn't get off completely because of the angle that I can't get in around the belt sander with this thing. So we'll have to do this by file. If I had to do this whole thing by file, I'd be here for days. Yeah, all right, let's snug it in again to verify. That makes an awful lot of dust too on the belt sander and your hands and everywhere. Okay. Okay, that's going in right where it's supposed to. But now I think I have more space on this side than that side. Damn. Yeah, it's right up against it and not right up against it there. Oh, darn. I'm going to have to take off a little bit more on the other side just to try to make it look good. Yeah, I've got the full 16th there. I don't have a 16th here. Darn. Alright, let's see how that did. So this part I had to get done first in order to be able to get to the second stage, which will be the body underneath these things. I drilled out the holes here for the mounting screws because these came with much smaller mounting screws than what were originally in the body. So I'm going with the originals, of course, because the holes for this hole is there, and I want all the screws to be the same. So I drilled them out so that it would fit the other screws, and I think I left it at the other bench. But they're going to go in a little bit smoother and not thread here in the opening. When I did that, I took a larger drill bit and I went around the outside to smooth off the back so that there's no scratching and it's going to sit flat. And I also took my smooth file and I ran around all the edges because the chrome was coming over there and it was all sharp on the back side. Inside here and outside there as well. And when you put that on the body, you know, and you move it around to do adjustments, you're going to end up with scratching all over your body, which you don't want. At least I don't want. So I went, first I tried sandpaper. It did a fairly good job across the holes, but not as great as I wanted it to. And so I went with my little file. Not the diamond files, but the standard smoother metal file. All right. So off comes the body. And I got to move to the other side of the workshop down there to get my templates set up, my template. I bought the full set of humbucker templates as well now, as I needed them. I buy things as I need them. And I figured since I wanted to do this on this guitar, I was going to need it for sure, because there was no way I was going to run the risk of trying to freehand all that. Alrighty, I'm gonna call that part good for now.